Hello, everyone. Hi, welcome to Physics 57th meeting. Today is the 3rd of October, and we have our meetings the first Wednesdays of the month. So it is going to be another very interesting meeting because we have here with us very, very special people. And today's co-chair is James Rink. And there's a reason why James is so spot on co-chairing this meeting in a moment, you know. And I'm going to screen share. Uh, okay, I will also have to give you a report of the last meeting as well. Right, so I pulled up my PowerPoint presentation. Welcome to FESIG. FESIG is a free energy special interest group. This is a platform where science meets spirituality, where we have scientists, researchers, developers, and enthusiasts of free energy and alternative energy gathering here on this platform. While I could hear noises in the background, please mute yourself, everyone. And if you want to speak, then you unmute yourself. And there's a button at the bottom of the Zoom room, a Zoom window that you could just click and unclick on the microphone. Wonderful, thank you. So I was introducing FESIG. FESIG is a platform where science meets spirituality, where everyone comes together on this platform to share their knowledge, to help develop the technology further in this way, open source, whatever they could open source, and share ideas and you know, so we can step forward with the technology. And FESIG is a group of people, kind of like friends and soul family members here. We have been here, the executive council members, the inner circle members of FESIG has been together since 2.5 years ago. That's when we started way back, a splinter group from the Cash Foundation, because we realized that, okay, there's more to it than just one belief system. So we open up to everyone and everybody who is on track in alignment with Creator's loving light, progressing the technologies forward to make a difference on this planet. So here on the 57th FESIG meeting, we have myself as the chair, Crystal Gore, and I'm sorry, it's James Rink in this instance. Yeah, James Rink is my co-chair here for this meeting, because James actually is the founder of supersoldiertalk.com, and he pioneered in gathering super soldiers together to remember what they had been experiencing when they are in service with the SSP, the Secret Space Program. So today we've got the today is actually an SSP, which is short for Secret Space Program Forum Speakers, a forum. So we have the speakers here. Penny Bradley actually is very popular nowadays because she remembers so perfectly well, and she actually hates the Secret Space Program Super Soldiers Talk on on Facebook. And if you search Secret Space Program group in Facebook, you find her administering together with Alina Kapulnik, the Secret Space Programs group. Whereas, well, there's a founder as well. We will talk about him another time. Bring him to share his knowledge. So Penny actually has interviewed and gone viral with Joel Orthideous Chase, and that's how we got the idea of getting Penny to get him into this forum as well to speak. It's just as well because Anthony Zender can't make it today. Unfortunately, he has some family issues and problems to solve, so he asked to be excused. Perhaps he can come in another time with Alina Kalpunik. Alina Kalpunik is supposed to be here as well, but she's moving house right now, so so she's too busy to come in to speak. And oh, it's so wonderful that James here opened the doors for us in FESIG to be able to have such wonderful, illustrious friends here from the Secret Space Program Group to speak about disclosure. Um, so then once we have done this forum, then the second session, we will have another forum, which was successfully implemented when Don Estes was giving his talk the last meeting on the 56th FESIG meeting, which was held on the, was it the 5th of September? Yeah. So we had such a good discussion because Marina Jacobi jumped in as well. And then it was so fascinating, the subjects we were exploring and talking about. She was talking about the AI earlier, artificial intelligence, and then she was talking about the no, I actually opened up the conversation thread about remote viewing, and we were discussing that, and it was very interesting. I wouldn't tell you a lot about that because I would encourage you to go into FESIG's YouTube channel and look up these videos yourself. All our videos in our meetings are recorded verbatim, and there's no editing. It is raw as it is, okay? So we are doing pretty well that way. So I don't suppose that we need to do any editing. So then the second session will follow this first session of the Super Soldiers Forum. The second session will be us in the Executive Council and the meeting attendees asking you, the speakers at the panel, questions. And that will be a very interesting recording as well. And having done that, then we go around the table and all that, of course, you know, just like a normal meeting does. And then we adjourn to the next meeting on the 7th of November, which will be the 58th FESIG meeting. And I urge you, speakers are to be announced, and I urge you to write to me, Crystal, or text me or message me on Facebook if you have come across anybody whom you think will be will make very interesting speakers for FESIG. I'll be very, very delighted to hear from you. Thank you very much indeed. So this is the meeting agenda, and this is where my email address is crystal@truevisionofpeace.com. Okay, do go to our website, truevisionofpeace.com/fisig.html, and you see what we are all about. Okay, right, and then that's it. And thank you. And I'm going to stop sharing now, and I will start to introduce Penny and Joel. Right. Okay. No, before I do that, I also want to do a little bit of a, well, I just tip of the iceberg of a report on the last meeting, the 56th FESIG meeting. I really, really recommend you to click on the video link in our YouTube channel to listen to it because it's very, very important. John Estes, as I would like to mention, was partnering Robert Monroe in those days when Robert Monroe was coming up with the Robert Monroe Institute, where they were teaching the spies to do remote viewing. I know and then he says it backfires, of course, if it's put into the wrong use, like spying for warfare and all that. But if it's for good, then it will be really good. And then we actually, he was talking about his domes. His domes, he had come up with a technology where he could measure people's vibrational frequency when they talk with their voice. And he says if his domes were to be installed in the many different locations in the world, then he will be able to find the people who would be able to make a difference for the planet. And he says the types will be the outward dominant radiating voices, because Martin said that he's looking for people to make a difference in this planet with this cryptocurrency backing of funding and funding all those wonderful projects for the betterment of humanity. So that is a small little report from me, but as I said, go to our YouTube channel and oh, okay, I'll share screen then, and I will show you how to get to our YouTube channel. Share. Okay, so if you look at our website, physics website, okay. Now, physics website has all the details that you need to know about us. Okay. Join us and you'll be in our database. So you'll be getting our reports, our newsletters, our meeting invitation. And if you want to join us, because we're going to create the foundation where finally it's going to be like a sovereign nation of a breakaway community. So just click on the finder and you're in with us. So the speakers for today are all lined up here. This is Penny's write-up about who she is and how she could remember. I mean, she has been remembering that she was working for Dark Fleet as a super soldier with the SSP. And Anthony's little bio write-up is here, and so is Joel's. And Joel's photographs when he's General Hendricks with the SSP, and that's Joel here on this planet. Right, so to get
Crystal,
to
could I interject and add, you mentioned your join or subscribe button there. That's very important, because from this list we will be accepting applications for our airdrop program. And so we want to know people that have been working in solution space for how many years, it doesn't matter. But we want those talented, bright, committed people that have that. So the bigger we can get the FESIG subscription base to grow, the bigger our airdrop can be directed this way.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you for mentioning that. Okay, so this is, if you scroll down, you'll be able to see the last meeting's recording. This is a 56th FESIG meeting where we had the FESIG forum special, which we're going to have again today with the super soldiers. And that was Don Estes, Marina, and all of you who had been in the meeting, forming the panel speakers. So this is Don, and just click and you'll be able to listen to the whole recording of the meetings. And John Miluski with Martin speaking in the 55th meeting, and so on and so forth. And we had Neil Gleamer as well with Marina talking about the ascension codes and so on and so forth. So many wonderful, great people who could make a huge, big difference on our planet. And there's Kevin Hayes. Well, okay, right. So you could actually click on this one, the YouTube link on our Facebook, and it will bring you right to our YouTube channel. Okay. Hi, Manisha. We see you now. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing screen, and I'm going to jump right in to introduce Penny. Okay, so Penny Bradley actually spoke in FESIG during the 23rd FESIG meeting. Wow, that was so long ago, Penny. On the 16th of November, 2016. I've been meaning to ask you to come back, but we're so caught up with so many things. She's a former super soldier fighter pilot based on Mars for 60 years, was a ship navigator on a cargo transport ship for Dark Fleet. Penny was abducted, kidnapped at the age of 4 and brought to other planets and taught about technology and education beyond mainstream knowledge. In the 23rd meeting, I asked Penny about the kind of power or energy that's used by the secret space program and how they power their ships and crafts and the living technologies there in Mars and the dark side of the moon and other off-planet bases. She says it's a combination of anti-gravitational technology, plasma, and Tesla-based technology. So today we're going to continue with the technology stuff. So I can't wait for you to speak on this, Penny. I have to introduce Joel as well. Joel Orthideous Chase. When I asked Joel, could you give me a little bio? He says, I am from the world Ykarta, Ykarta. And he says he's a six-dimensional starseed, and he was general, or still is currently, I'll leave it to you, Joel, General Hendricks in the secret space program. And here on Earth, he's known as Joel Lakey, and he has lived millions of lifetimes, mostly on reptilian homeworlds. And Joel said he is 40% reptilian and 60% human. So, right, I'm going to pass the microphone over to you now, Penny, and then you will then invite Joel to speak. Penny, over to you.
Hi.
Welcome back, sister.
It's good to be back. I don't know where to start. Okay. The tech. Actually, I think I'll start with why I remember as well as I do.
Yes, please. Yes.
It's because I had an NSA agent use my remember code for that altar. And when he did, it took about 2 or 3 weeks for the memories to start in. And they came in all on top of each other. And I had to work on sorting them out so that I knew what was where and what order they came in. And most of the memories that came right away were battle or flying. And so since I've never flown on Earth, I knew it couldn't have been here. So I was in, okay, somebody's complaining about my audio.
Mm-hmm.
I may not be talking loud enough, sorry. Does that help?
Can you bring your mic closer to your mouth? Oh, I see. It's on there.
It's on the headphones. So this is about as close as it gets. I did play with the sound part, but okay, that's why I have the memory that I do. People think I remember a lot because what I remember is really clear, but I really only remember about 30% of what happened in that altar. And I was picked up in 1959 and I was sent home in 2014. So the whole length of time was 55 years. But I wasn't in space for all of it. The first 5 years I was at Langley being mind fractured and then my psi abilities trained. And yes, remote viewing is part of the package that we're all taught. It's how you, if you have weaponized skills like I did, remote viewing is how you target them. So these are skills we're taught. I wasn't particularly good at the remote viewing, but I was good enough to target things. So there are times when the equipment can't zero in on something, and that's when you have to use the remote viewing to do it. And that's part of what I did. Most of what I did was pilot a fighter plane on Mars. Occasionally, I'd have to get out of it and chase somebody. When I did, I usually ended up spider bait. Mars has spiders.
Oh.
Then I got in trouble when I was about 1990. I'm not sure how old I was that year, but it was in 1990. I got in trouble and got sent to the part of Nacht Waffen that is support for the Draco. So that was overlapping with what Joel does.
Penny, sorry, hold it. I don't mean to interrupt. I know this is your platform, your baby is coming up, but I need James, you're the co-chair, because you pioneered in this field in bringing the super soldiers together, and you have so much knowledge at the back of your hand about the whole thing. Because for a newbie to understand what we're talking about here, you need to explain in a nutshell, in a as few words as possible. In a nutshell, what is the secret space program about, and what is the Solar Warden, and what is Dark Fleet, so that we will know where Penny is coming from and where Joel is coming from, and how these things are brought about, and why is it like mainstream news don't have this, and how the masses out there don't know anything about this at all. James, could you please?
Yeah, okay, in a few minutes or less, probably 3 minutes or less. So essentially what happened is after, during World War II, the Nazis embraced channeling and different type of esoteric technologies in which they gained the ability to do not only time travel through Daiklak, but also through the Hanabu and the other types of anti-gravitational crafts, in which they allegedly traveled to the moon and opened up a base there that was abandoned, an ancient facility, and then they also opened up a facility on Mars. I believe this was all around 1932, 1936. Okay, so they also settled in Ykarta. And then what happened, a base under the ice shelf. And then what happened is that right after World War II, they flew their crafts over Washington, D.C. I think it was in 1954, I believe it happened. There was a flyover of all these UFOs, and those were Nazi ships, apparently. And they were showing the American public that we're still here and we're very advanced technologically and you did not defeat us. So around that time, the Eisenhower administration made a deal with the Nazis instead of because they wanted to make themselves known to the American public that we won the war. We're still here. We're more technologically advanced than the United States. But instead, Eisenhower decided, okay, well, we'll make a treaty with you. In exchange for abducting humans, I guess in the United States, but probably around the world, the aliens will get access to technology. And because at that point, the Nazis were already making deals with the Draco and different types of greys. That was known as Dark Fleet. And then what happened is our own government set up something called the ICC, the Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate. I'm not going to get that one right. So they set their own groups of spies and infiltrators within the secret space program, and then they also participated in the bases on Mars and so on. But there are different groups, like Solar Warden was set up apparently by the Rothschild faction, and they got access to some of the anti-gravitational levitational crafts, and also there's some other sub-factions within that were associated with other parallel realities, such as Kruger, which Penny and I had experience with. And Kruger is from another parallel reality in which the Nazis won World War II, and they embraced the Hebrews and Tesla technology, and then they released all this suppressed technology, and so on, so on. So they're actually coming over here apparently to help us out with the Dark Fleet issue. But even within those groups, there's other splinter breakaway groups. There's a splinter breakaway group within Solar Warden and that's one of the groups that I work with as well as Kruger. So, okay, I think I answered the question. I hope. Is that affirmative?
Thank you, James. That is so good. Now then Penny can jump in and continue with what she's saying, and I think people would then be able to piece the what do you call the information together. Now, Penny, over to you. Thank you, James.
Penny, did I answer that correctly?
Close. All of these groups have factions. They all have infighting. They all have power struggles. The German group calls themselves Nacht Waffen. The Americans call them Dark Fleet. And everybody else thinks they're evil. Nacht Waffen believes that they are the survivors of a breakaway group that has freed themselves from the cabal on Earth. And they see themselves as the good guys. So you have to keep that in mind. Through all of this, they see themselves as the good guys. They unfortunately took the attitude of that the ends justified the means. And there's been a lot of horrible things that have come out of that. Mostly the secrecy, although a lot of the secrecy was actually Eisenhower's fault. He was basically a decent person that was completely emotionally overwhelmed by the reality of ETs. And they had just fought this world war at great cost. And here he was confronted by beings from another world that there was no way that he could beat. And so he did his best to try to save face for the American people so that they would be spared the terror that he felt. Now, that's the source of all the secrecy. And there were some complicating things going on, and he told the CIA to do whatever it took to make sure some humans survived whatever that the ETs were going to do. And that was a very, very, very bad idea, because the CIA has used that to take over the world. And we all know that they kill people, they kidnap children, they're behind the drug trade, all of that. So that was where the CIA actually got their power from, was Eisenhower was scared. So I don't blame him, because there's no way he could have been prepared for this. But I was born during the Eisenhower administration. So I am from the first generation of the people that the CIA had control over. And I'll be honest, I hate them with a purple passion. If there's anybody I would like to see taken off the planet, it's the CIA. And so I'll just say that up front. In as far as I've been able to trace, they are the core of where the cabal hits, the rubber hits the road. So you want to clean up this planet, you get rid of the CIA. So anyway, what we were doing in Nacht Waffen in space is we were the backup for an empire that stretches over half of this arm of the galaxy. This is a huge empire, and it has been there for millions, if not billions of years. And they're not stupid. They're not particularly cruel unless you rebel. They treated me better than the humans did. And the only time you really have a problem is if you say, nope, we're not going to have you anymore, and then prepared to be destroyed. I have never seen a planet survive trying to get rid of the Draco. Well, now I'll hand it over to Joel because he worked directly with the Draco.
Hello, everyone. Nice meeting you guys for the first time. Can you all hear me?
Hi, Joel. Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So how my experiences started, I used to be in past reincarnations.
Lost
Joel,
your voice.
we lost your voice. I mean, the video is still there, but the voice not there.
My friends and family were all White Reptilian royalty there. We all lived in towers on the Reptilian homeworlds, and how the tower system works on Reptilian homeworlds is it's based on seniority of how high up you are in the civilization. So the higher you live in the building, the more royalty you are. My parents always lived in the very top floor. I was always put into military academies on their home worlds, and I was in my reptilian body there doing military school and stuff like that, and I became generals on their planet. And then I came to this world incarnated on this planet, and in Vancouver, Canada. And then for 26 years, my memories were blocked, and I learned how to play human and learned the human civilization. And I didn't really know where I was from, but I always felt different than most. And then when I was 26 years old, I was taken out of my body when I was sleeping and put onto a ship with the Palladians. And the Palladians told me that I was from Ykarta, started unlocking my memories and showing me my 20 and back program in the Dark Fleet with the Reptilians. My memories started coming back over time. And then I found out that I'm still in the Dark Fleet military programs. And I served directly under one of the White Reptilian Commanders. I sent the host here a picture of my White Reptilian Commander. I use the same artist as Corey Good. He does all of Corey Good's artist drawings for his memories. And recently, 2 days ago, I was taken to the dark side of the moon, where I was fighting amongst the humans with the tall grays that were on the dark side of the moon. They were being invaded by this unknown force, and they were caught off guard because there was a treaty on the moon where there was no military action allowed on there, and the humans kind of backstabbed the tall grays, or they were trying to get rid of the tall grays, and then I didn't like why they would do that, so I took the tall gray side and I started fighting against the humans, and then they had this device that would stop my telekinesis powers so I could move things with my mind. The people that were attacking the tall grays had these biological dinosaur-looking entities that would run around, and like they look like raptor beings. They would rip the tall grays apart in their mouths and stuff like that. And when my telekinesis powers were working, I could lift them up and rip them in half and throw them against walls and stuff like that. And then there was this other super soldier lady that ran up to me and addressed me by Hendricks, and she knew me very well, but I didn't know her, and she got really upset because she told me that they must have mind wiped me or put a memory block in my mind to forget her, and that she was my loving spouse that I had a relationship with in my 20 and back, and she was just very upset that I had no memory of her. But I looked into her and read her telepathically, and I knew that I knew her, but I just was so mad at the people that put the memory blocks in me to not make me remember her, so I turned on them, and then they projected an image in my head of a family member on this planet, very hurt, on the dates of October 27th or October 29th at 12:15 a.m. or p.m. if I don't smarten up, and they killed my avatar, then I was thrown back in my body. That was about 2 days ago. And that's it for now.
Wow. All right. Thank you for sharing where your experiences are coming from. I actually wanted to, because FESIG is the Free Energy Special Interest Group, we want to hear more about the, now that you have explained to the audience that how you come to know and remember yourself as the alter or the original working in the secret space program. We would like to proceed with asking you about, to talk more about the technologies the secret space programs letting you use, or you're using in whichever faction that you're working for. Could you tell us about, to start off with, the spacecrafts that you're using? How is it powered, and how does it get to travel through the wormholes or the whatever, from one planet to another? From, does it go across the span of the other universe or universes as well, or is it just based on the moon base or the or Mars or other planets that has been colonized by the Solar Warden and the Dark Fleet?
How my memories work, my memories are like a movie trailer. So they're when I wake up in my avatar, I'm already in a battle scene, or I'm on the bridge of the deck taking orders from the commanding reptilian that I'm with. I'm a splice, so I'm a half reptilian, half humanoid general. So I take orders from the White Reptilians, or even the warrior class reptilians, and the people that I give orders are the half humans and half reptilian super soldiers. The only technology that I can remember using on the battlefield, they could have these thing called drone packs, where the drones would, there'd be a drone pack on my back, and it'd be connected to my mind. Everything we use is telepathy, and which is with my mind. These drones would fly off, and they would go scan areas, and I could use them as explosion devices or cut through people. Another weapon that we would use is called the laser sword, what people call lightsabers. But this laser sword, the difference was one part of it had a sword part to it, and the other part you can use if you squeeze the handle, you can use as a projectile device, which shoot out laser beams. Another device that we use is telekinesis powers, where we can project energy shields around our bodies or other people that are with us from oncoming firepower. Another device that we use for traveling is portal technology, where we can open portals with our mind and we can transfer to different parts of the universe with just thought. The ships that I've only been on are I've been on the bridge of the deck. They look like the ships from Star Wars, the big triangle looking ones, but it was black, and most of it was just portal technology. We'd just travel through portals and drop there, fight there, and then portal back. I never flew anything. I was on a hover looking craft that would look like a helicopter on the surface of Mars, and I was in the ship flying with two of my lieutenants, and we're looking at our inventory of these mechanical looking robot looking things. Have you ever seen the movie Avatar? Those machines with the 2 legs and 2 arms that humans fight with. That's a real technology. I was in charge of those battalions on the surface of Mars. And then the other technology we used was time travel warfare, where we would travel back in World War I and World War II, and we would do time looping training, where we would storm the beaches of D-Day, and if we got killed, we were sent back in time and kept doing it until we find the proper route to get to the fastest, or disarming bomb technology. Or I was sent back in Roman days, where I'd collect blood and tissue samples of dead soldiers that had bloodlines, and I would send it back to the reptilians for genetic research and stuff like that.
Thank you, Joel. Okay, so right. Now, these technologies that you had been talking about, it's really way much more advanced than whatever that is being used by the mainstream here on this planet. How do you feel about that? I mean, is there any question of these technologies being reviewed or disclosed or brought into the material physical world to be used on planet?
Well, the frustration I have with, I call it surface human technology, is so like, for example, like someone will message me on Facebook, and then they will ask me questions about this stuff, and they want me to text it or type it. And the technology that I'm used to in this secret space program is everything is connected with my mind. So if I want to talk to someone, I can just project an image in their head with a feeling, and they completely understand the story. So when I'm on this surface world and I have to tell them a story, I have to talk it through human speech, or I have to type it on a computer, and I find it too tedious or too slow for my mind. So it like frustrates me or irritates me that I have to do it this way, because it's such a slower way of communication. Everything that's on the surface of the planet is very controlled technology, and it's called slave technology or consumer products technology to keep you drone sleeping or distracted or occupied. Everything is trackable. Everything is just designed to keep you slave to the debt system and money system, and keep you like eyes at the screen instead of looking up above and asking questions.
So Joel, as General Hendricks, I mean, you used to all these very advanced technologies, and you said that you're so frustrated because you couldn't use these technologies because over here everything's so primitive. Is there any chance of collapsing the parallel realities where you can bring this onto the present reality to be used, these technologies?
Bring the technology from up there down here.
Yeah.
Well, I've been disciplined a few times with this Tesla technology for trying to bring out full disclosure. So I was on an interview with Penny Bradley and Kevin Estrella, and then that night they took me to this planet, and it was a forest planet, and they put me in my super soldier avatar, and I was in a disciplinary hearing actions for what I said on that show, and they put me into this tower with these 2 Tesla towers, and they started electrocuting me for like hours on end until they were trying to mind wipe me. And then I was placed back in my body, but since I'm a 6-dimensional starseed, my consciousness is actually in my light orb that I came here in, the 6-dimensional plane of Earth, floating around Earth, and my consciousness is, and my memories are always in that ship, so it just keeps re-downloading all my stuff into this body. And the technology is very controlled, so I don't see how it could ever bring something down here, because my body's left here. They just take my soul out of this body and throw me up there. So
I know James and we all here in FESIG has been on and about right from 1.5 years, 2 years ago. We were talking about how is it possible to get you all to remember, especially those scientists and engineers and architects of these technologies from the secret space program, to get together to remember how to replicate these technologies. Then we can have it here. James, what do you think? Is there any progress in that direction with your group in the Super Soldier Talk? Or Penny's Secret Space Program group?
I don't think they're going to be releasing anything. Perhaps, I think maybe we might have better chance with Trump during his second president term, because essentially, at least that's what's been relayed to me by Peter from the ACIO, the Alien Contact.
Berger, yeah.
Yeah. So if these beings were so loving and benevolent, and they wanted to help, I mean, I guess they've liberated themselves from humanity, the cabal, I mean, but they haven't. They've sort of forgotten about. I don't know. Well, actually, that is true. What they often do is, like, for instance, when you're on Mars, they will erase all your memories on Earth. So the people on Mars who are being kept slaves on Mars do not even, they've been told that Earth has been destroyed by the aliens in a cobalt bomb attack, for example. So they have been programmed, basically, essentially, to not even think about visiting Earth again. So I really don't think they're going to help us. Now, I mean, there are some splinter groups that want to see some disclosure, and but I think maybe they're waiting for us to do it. I guess we're the disclosure, but if they keep erasing our memories, kind of stuck here.
Penny, you mentioned that you could push any button you wanted except that one little button. Okay, well, we're going to have to push that little button sooner or later. The intervention, like you said, has been a million years in the making. And we're starting to see that we're treated like basically, herds, cattle, lab rats, all of this DNA testing. Yeah, all of that. And in fact, we've got a lot more faculties and capabilities as a species than we're presently expressing. And as a metal-making alchemist, I had to launch my own journey in transcendence to get to where I could appreciate that we are consciously coupled, okay, and humanity is entitled to a sovereignty of its own, but we'll never achieve that sovereignty, and it will not be given to us. It's one that we will have to assert and take. And the new community, I think, goes a long ways towards that, but just dealing with the George Bushes of the world is not enough. They interface with the Dracos or whatever species you want to call them, or of the dozen that are out there, maybe all of them. But we have to stand up, learn how to use our brains at an exalted level, get our integrity in order, get our commitments in order, get our unity in order, all that sort of stuff. And then humanity has a rightful place that will be recognized when we behave responsibly as cosmic citizens, rightfully accessing space, brothers.
Well, at this point, having dealt with 8 or 9 different ET groups in my experience in Nacht Waffen, there's nobody out there that really wants to see us mature. We are considered to be a slave race, period.
And we affirm that every day in our petty
we do.
behaviors, but we are capable
silence
of source.
is consent, okay? That's the way the law is in the galaxy. Silence is consent. So when we do not speak up,
I think their term is acquiescence.
I keep hearing that energy flows where attention goes. My experience is that that's wrong. You have to say no. The universe hears no much louder than it hears yes. You have to withdraw consent to be ruled. You have free will.
Consider it withdrawn.
You have free will, but you have to use it. And we have been these nice, floating along, paying the bills, going to work. As long as we have food on the table, clothes on our back, and a roof over our heads, we're fine with whatever they do to us. And that's what we've done wrong. Now, you want to talk about tech. I'm the one that knows the tech.
Yes, please, Penny. Go on then.
Well, the propulsion systems, that's pretty well described for those of us that are conversant and qualified in the space. Tesla's technology, my work with Dr. Malusky, we've got a skewed perspective of our energetic dimensional realms called magnetoelectronics or magnetoelectrics, okay? We work with something we call magnetricity, which is really a magnetic electrics, okay? And when you start to view the world
that's closer to what they teach you in Nacht Waffen. They teach that the universe is a combination of quantum mechanics and electric universe. Relativity is wrong. The idea that the speed of light is a constant was wrong.
Well, sound goes faster than the speed of light, and
Martin, please let Penny say about the technology, because we're all ears. We're excited to hear about what kind of advanced technology she's experiencing in the secret space program. Right.
Now, I went to Mars in 1964. And at that time, we had 0-point energy on Mars.
Mm.
When I was put in a fighter plane in 1975, it had a plasma engine, not jets like on Earth. When I was put into a ship for Nacht Waffen, I was the navigator. I was the person who drove the ship. And it had one engine at each end of the ship, because it was one of the cigar-shaped ones. We had one engine at each end of the ship that was the Glocke, the old-fashioned engine that ran the Hannibal. It was based on red mercury and spinning. And if it spun too fast, it turned into gold and stopped working. Now, the time frame that I was starting, they were starting to use the EM engines. That's the ones where you have a copper bell and you hit it with microwaves. That stuff is the cutting edge for what I experienced. Okay, I was on an older ship. I don't know what they've put on the new ones, but when I saw those teardrop shaped fields around the launches in the last 2 years, that's the EM ship engines. And they were in Florida, they were in the LA area, they were in Russia, they were in China. The entire group of nations that have nuclear weapons all have the EM engines now. What did we have? We had Nacht Waffen uses people in their natural bodies. So they have a tech that they call a regeneration tank. And it's probably 10 feet tall, and it's got either blue or green gel in it, and they dump you in, and it's without the lights on, it's completely black. It's one of those, oh, what's the term for it, where you get no sensation? You get absolutely no sensation at all, and it can
An isolation tank?
Yeah, a sensory deprivation tank, I think is what they call them on Earth. But they put you in this thing, and they can bring you back from the dead in that, even if you've been dead for up to 4 months. The first 2 weeks, you still have memory, but after that, your memory's gone, but they can still bring you back. And so one of the jobs that they had me do on Mars, because we were in a war. We were in a war that the Germans started with the raptors and the mantids. And one of my jobs was to be the ghoul. I got to fly around, and when my computer said that there was a body that was human, I had to go pick it up, bag it, and bring it back. Dump it in the regen tank, and we would bring that human back.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we found out that the Mars native humans were genetically us, because the computer could not tell the difference. So they're basically, ethnically, they would be the same as American Indians, very similar to the Apache tribe. And they've been there for millennia. And they're a very sweet, peaceful spiritual people, and every time that the German-based colonists move into their area, they pack up and leave because they want nothing to do with us. So they have technologies of their own that they take with them, so we don't know what they are. But a lot, if you look at the Mars anomalies, their dwellings and their hidey holes all have skulls or human faces near the doors, so that if you're being chased by a raptor, you're being chased by a mantid, you're being chased by a spider, or one of the forever dust storms is coming through, then you can see this skull and find a place to hide. And we used them. I mean, most of them in our area had been abandoned anyway. The only thing you had to watch for was spiders like to take them over. What else did we have?
Penny, can I ask you this big question? Okay, so the viewers and the audience would understand more about how all these things coming about. Okay, first and foremost, you were talking about the technology that they use, which is so amazingly advanced that could actually take a fragment of your soul to clone you and make an altar out of you to serve in the Dark Fleet.
You're mixing terms.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, you're using terms not the way they are defined.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Correct me.
An altar is where they take a child and torture it until the mind splits.
Oh dear.
The pieces are called altars, and they are programmable into different people who inhabit your body.
I see.
They were originally part of you. So it's not another person, you're not being possessed, it's a part of you that has been broken up through torture. That's the only way dissociative identity disorder happens, is through torture. And the CIA does this to little kids. They did it to me when I was 4. I have over 2,000 altars. They will use one technique on you until it stops working, and then they will use another. And they have a repertoire of about 20 techniques. What I remember being done to me, and keep in mind, Langley had a regeneration tank to bring us back from the dead. Okay? They drowned me. They shot me with a gun. They electrocuted me until I was dead. This wasn't a shock like, you know, putting your fingers on something. This was, I was electrocuted until I was dead. I was raped as a 4-year-old. I was sodomized as a 4-year-old. That's what the monarch name is about, is because when a child is sodomized, the pelvis takes the shape of a monarch butterfly. That is how horrific this is. I hear so many super soldiers talking about, oh, we can do this and we can do that. And it's based on your mind fractured, and you have alters that are trained to do these things so that your core personality, who does survive on Earth, doesn't remember it. That makes it where you cannot testify against the individuals who tortured you or have used you as slave labor, because Your core personality doesn't remember unless you're given a code to remember it. Now, I still have no idea why the NSA wanted me to remember, but they did. And that happened to me in April of 2013. These are the memories that I've been remembering, is being raped, being drowned. One of the worst memories I have is I couldn't have been 40 pounds and I was nailed inside a wall and left to suffocate.
Oh no.
Who does this to little kids?
They probably thought that you wouldn't, they'll erase your memories anyway, so you wouldn't remember it. They can do whatever they want.
But this is what they're doing to people. Now, other members of the SSP group remember having their eyes basically stapled open, and one eye would be shown something that was pleasant, and the other eye would be shown something that was horrific, and you couldn't shut your eyes. You had to watch both. And having them split like that would split your mind and form alters. They would give us drugs while they were doing this. And that's why most of us are programmed to not use drugs, because if we do, it will bring back that fragment of programming. So I was from the hippie generation. I never used drugs because every time I thought about it, I would have a panic attack.
Mm-hmm.
Why does a kid have a panic attack over thinking about smoking pot? I mean, come on. Unless you've been through something like MK Ultra, you don't do that. When my parents paid for swimming lessons, I was inhaling the pool. Why? Because that's what they taught me at Langley. They teach you to inhale the fluid so they can dump you in the regen tank and you'll breathe while you're in there. Mm-hmm. This is the stuff that they do to you. And when they send you back, they try to tell you that, well, you don't remember it, so you're okay. No, your subconscious remembers, and all this stuff keeps bubbling up. But these are the issues that I have with the program, why I think that the CIA is worse than the Vatican, worse than the cabal itself, is because these are the people where the rubber meets the road that are hands-on doing this to children. This is wrong. And
It's
your
so
tax
sad. It's got to stop.
and people's tax dollars are paying for this. And Congress could stop it if the American public would demand it. So that was my rant for today. But
Penny, I want to ask, what happened to the alters? Okay, they are in service with the SSP, and like you were saying, I was listening to one of your interviews. You're saying that one of your alters had gone to take up a spacecraft, and the glass shattered in her journey, and 1,000 pieces. I mean, killed her. Right?
Yeah.
And then your altar came back to you. It has to come back to the original. So could you share with us the experience of how your altar comes back to you, the fragment of your soul, the altar that comes back to you, and how it feels? And could you share, please?
Okay. That particular altar, I call her Starbuck, because she was in Kruger, and she was a fighter pilot, and she was fighting in a battle and got hit with something. I'm not sure what the technology was, but they don't have windows in the ships, but they do have these glass screens that everything is shown on, which is de facto window. It's like in comparison in Star Trek, they have the big screen in the front of the bridge because the bridge is in the center of the ship and there's no windows. So it's the same idea. When you're in a smaller ship, you have the screen right in front of you, like having a big screen TV. So when they hit with certain types of weapons, it shatters the screen. And then you're hit with all these flying pieces of glass. So it's like having your skin stripped off you. That's how she died. And I don't know why, but when she's died 3 times that I know of, because I would be piggybacking her while she was dying. So I was basically possessing, hanging. I wasn't in charge, but I was there and aware of what was going on. And then whenever she died, we came back to my body because she was in a clone. Now that's a pet peeve I have, is because clones are not soulless. They're people and we are possessing them. They're grown very quickly, some of them in under 24 hours. So they have a mind, but it's at the infant stage and we are possessing them. This is wrong, ethically, completely, horribly. So, but it's what Kruger is based on. And from what I understand, also Monarch. And parts of Solar Warden. The regeneration tanks are manted technology, and we Nacht Waffen leases them from the manteds. You should know that what we pay for things with are human beings that are converted into cyborgs. They are stripped out of their bodies and put into robots with enough organics to keep the consciousness planted in them. That's another tech. The singularity is already well underway in space. It's when Corey Goode talks about the planet, well, we call it planetary corporations. Their main product that they sell to get advanced tech is human beings turned into cyborgs. That's what's being sold out there. So that's people that are kidnapped because they're homeless, they're war refugees. They take people that are in the hospital and dying and toss them in a regen tank and then use the bodies. Because the ET tech that we are getting requires a consciousness to operate. So the machinery, the robots, have to have a person trapped inside them to work. So the singularity has been, I think it was about 1980 on Mars. I don't know when it was on others. What Corey Goode calls the glass pads, we called it the Mars net. And that was being uploaded in the 1970s. I knew the person responsible for scanning in the documents. He turned out to be the NSA agent that used my remember code. So just because you're used there doesn't mean that you're not in government now. we were told that if we cooperated when we were brought home, we would have upper middle class jobs, that we would have benefits as in health care and retirement and all of that. Most of us have not gotten them. I wanted to be a doctor, and I was blocked at every step of the way. And finally, my age regression sickness was activated to keep me from continuing, because I was succeeding anyway. So the technology, if they had what was basically a tablet in the 1970s, what do they have now? And yes, Joel was correct that what we had in Nacht Waffen when I was sent home was all telepathic. You didn't have to write anything. You didn't have to type. You would think and it would write. And when I was flying the fighter plane on Mars, I had a chip behind my left ear that was about the same size as a Bluetooth. And that was my connection to the computer in the ship. I also used a mouse with my right hand to run the ship. And basically the ship became an extension of me. And that's how they're piloted. And there's another chip that they put here, and it looked like one of the round things on the Borg in Star Trek. And that would produce a screen in front of your face that anyone you looked at, it would give you a readout of who they were, where they were from, what their temperature was, whether they were friend or foe, whether they were potentially friend or foe. And that was everybody you looked at. You knew everything about them because everybody was connected into the computer.
Well, is there a name for that device that you remember?
We just called it a readout.
A readout.
A readout.
Mm-hmm.
I think they call it augmented reality here.
Probably. It's like a virtual reality screen in front of your face because nobody else can see it in front of your face. It's wired in, your brain directly sees it without there actually being anything there.
Penny, can I jump in real quick on a question on this exact topic, please?
Sure.
Sure.
Mind control systems, when you're dealing with, in human terms, honesty and deception, we also have another term, we call it garbage in and garbage out. How do they operate the systems on, let's say, the advanced systems to alleviate this fog of information? Go ahead.
Well, by the time I left, they had a quantum computer on the ship I was flying. And it had a chip in each and every one of us where it monitored in real time what we were thinking. And if we were thinking something hostile or thinking about Earth or being too attached to another individual, we would get an induced epileptic seizure.
Oh.
And if we were really being bad, it would give us a major one, And if it was bad enough, it would kill us. And that's why I don't believe that there's a rebellion out there, is because there can't be one in Nacht Waffen, not with those chips. It's impossible.
Mm.
Not unless you've gotten the computer to rebel.
Mm.
Penny, I was wondering, when we were in Montauk, some of us remote viewed the future, those of us had the ability to do it. And we saw that we wouldn't get our memories back until George Bush Sr. died around July of 2019. Do you have any information on why there's a connection between George Bush Sr. and some of us getting our memories back? Or have you even seen Sr. in your experience?
I haven't been trying to remote view that part. I've been dealing with a lot of ET contact the last year.
Mm.
I've been shot 10 times with energy weapons since July 2016. And some of it has been ETs trying to help me, and some of it's been ETs trying to kill me. And I've gotten rather paranoid about the whole thing. Sometimes I'm not sure who's friend or foe. And it's really disturbing, and I spend a lot of time just staying zen enough to function.
Right.
I hope that makes some sort of sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess we got a phone call. I
Yeah,
hope you're not hearing that.
I think we can wrap this first session up, and then we can have a very quick, like half an hour or so, or 45 minutes of second session, where we can then all have like a forum, where discussion and a conversation. How's that? Okay.
Okay.
Right. So, Penny, you go ahead and take your phone call. Thank you so much. I would like to thank you on behalf of FESIG and the board here for your wonderful sharing of your experiences as a super soldier with Dark Fleet. And I must say, it's pretty sad to hear about what they were doing to young kids for the technology that they use to fragment you, to make alters out of you. Right. Joel, thank you so much for speaking out as well and coming forth so bravely to talk so honestly and frankly about your experience as well. So now I won't go around the table because we're going to have a next session where everybody would have a chance to speak and share your ideas and join the conversation. So now this meeting is to be adjourned to the second session. And that's it for now. We can stop recording now. Let's go to the second session in a few minutes break, okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Crystal.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good place to break.
Okay.
And
Have you stopped the recording?
yeah.
Okay.